afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Product Marketing Breakdowns. This is a podcast that focuses on learning from your peers. Product Marketing Breakdown gives a platform to some of the best product marketers in the industry to present a product marketing project or an example that they themselves have worked on. They will share the insights that they leveraged in the process. They will walk you through why exactly it works. I want to enable each and every one of you to learn directly from the creator, to take inspiration from their work and to apply it to your day-to-day work today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm your host. My name is Chirag. I'm a director of product marketing. I'm based in Toronto in Canada. I'm also a top product marketing voice on LinkedIn. Today is episode number 4. The support for episodes 1, 2, and 3 has been incredible. So thank you so much. For today's episode, I have invited my friend Cris Thome to join me. Cris leads the product marketing function at Uberall. She's also a Product Marketing Alliance ambassador. In this episode, she will be walking us through a real-life example of how she leveraged April Dunford's book, Sales Pitch, to create her own sales deck at Uberall. We also dove into how she uses the tool Storylane to create interactive demos. I'm sure this episode is not only going to make April Dunford really proud, but it's going to teach you guys so much. I can't wait for you guys to hear this episode. All right, episode 4 with Cris Thome. Here we go. All right, Cris, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Product Marketing Breakdowns. So I'm really excited for you to be here. I just did an intro for you right now, but I'd love to hear from you if you can tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you currently working? What's your role looking like, and so on?
Sure. I'm very excited to be here as well. Chirag, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Every time we talk, I learn something from you. So very excited about our discussion today. I am Cris Thome. I've been in marketing for about 20 years now. And my career has been pretty much solid on lifecycle marketing, customer marketing, and product marketing. Currently, I'm working for Uberall. Oh, sorry, my sneeze.
That's it.
Currently, I'm working for Uberall as the global head of product marketing. And I also own customer marketing as well. So super exciting. Uberall is a German company expanding into North America. So lots to do on the product marketing side.
That's awesome. I did look up your career journey so far. Obviously, we've known each other for a while. I am familiar with your journey is looking like. You touched upon the 3 elements of marketing. You spoke about loyalty marketing, like customer retention. You spoke about growth and life cycle, and obviously product, right?
Right.
What made you transition into product marketing from these roles? And more importantly, what I would love to know is, were there any common areas or common threads that you noticed between each of these roles?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I started in loyalty, in retention, always from companies like telco or in the tech industry with large database of customers. So my role has been pretty much data-driven, really understanding customer behavior, what they're doing with the platform and what they're not doing, tracking adoption of the product, activation and adoption, and trying to get them to renew, to buy more, to look at new features. So I always have this retention, renewal, and growth mindset. Then I transitioned about 6-7 years ago into B2B SaaS. So I started working for Hootsuite. I initially was on pre-sales, go-to-market, helping the enterprise side of the business. Then I moved to the self-serve of the side of the business, which is, we had a freemium. So you start with free and move to trial. And I was responsible for lifecycle marketing and really working with product growth. So we had a drop from our trialers to convert them to the ones that were actually paying. And it was all about improving the onboarding, improving the aha moment, the habit moment, and making sure that lifecycle marketing out of the product was keeping up with that as well. So again, very data-driven, very analytical roles. And also I was constantly looking at renewal and even offboarding. If you eventually just make your decision and really decided to leave, how can you provide empathetic offboarding flows? Because you never know, you may come back. So we want to end the terms in peace, in an amicable way.
You don't just cut it off.
You just don't, you just don't cut it off. You always, I love Canva as well, because they, in their offboarding flow, they always try to, are you sure? How about this option?
Here are the things you're missing out on, and so on, right?
So it's onboarding, offboarding, and everything in between. And then I started really working as a product marketer, thinking about personas, messaging, use case, lots of customer interviews. And then I made the role fully into product marketing. That's how I moved to product marketing. Yeah, that's the history.
That's great. While you were talking, Cris, I was thinking to myself, because I have also been in these similar situations where, you're looking at not only the onboarding flow, but even how are they using the product currently? Are they doing what you want them to do? And just making sure that that's actually happening as per your plan. What I also noticed is, in my experience, and this is something I did not consider, this was learning for me eventually, is how important is it for you to tailor that overall journey for them, especially in the first few hours of them using the product?
Right.
That is such an important consideration, because and this is one of the graphs that I saw. Your usage starts in the first hour, and then it just drops. It's a sharp decline immediately after. And then when I saw that for the first time, I had no idea why that is happening. And then once I looked into it, I started to realize the importance of the first sign-in into your application, the second sign-in. Because if you don't give them the value in the first one, or if you, make them feel overwhelmed in the very first visit, there is a very less chance that they're actually going to come back, right? So tailoring that at the beginning is extremely important. Is that something that you also were thinking about? Is that something you faced as a challenge as well?
Yes. From the pricing page on a freemium model where you sign up for the trial and you choose what you want to do, from that moment to the moment that you create your account and land in the platform, we actually observe an 8 hours gap and milestone. During the first 8 hours, if we're not able to show you the value, the 8 hours, from the time that you sign up, 8 hours later, sometimes we saw if the customer wouldn't come back, he was gone forever. So in the first 8 hours is the moment that you should be interacting with the product, that you should be coming back, logging in again. And we noticed this time thing, and it was still within the first day, within 24 hours. But for us, somehow the first 8 hours was an important cutoff moment. Some customers, we would lose them forever. They wouldn't come back. So that made us to shift the strategy completely to this first homepage, where you land in the product. And we then realized how confusing it was, that we had so many things trying to show the users when they land in the product. We went through a whole process of actually removing features.
Distractions.
It's a bit counterintuitive, but it was like the opposite. Instead of showing everything at once, our conversion improved when we significantly simplify the onboarding flow.
That's so interesting. Yeah, it's the first, as you said, the first 8 hours. It's so important to remove and minimize all distractions for a customer, and that's what we are doing. Did you primarily use in-product messaging or in-product communication, or was in that first 8 hours you were also leveraging email? This is just something I'm curious to know.
No, good point. So our welcome email would go right there within those 8 hours with some minimum basic tips and encouraging them, saying how happy we are that they join and what they need to do. And the next one would be on the following day. So very easy to make sure that they were doing the basic things that we expect them to do in the product. Yeah.
That makes sense because you don't want to send them way too many emails in a few hours as
No,
well. That
no.
is going to be
It's like,
overwhelming
oh,
again.
I'm being
Exactly.
bombarded, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
totally. Um, we touched upon this a little bit, Cris, but one common thread that obviously I see between the three functions, and we spoke about customer retention, reducing churn, like showing value of the product to your customer. That's also a big focus for you at Uberall, not only in your previous roles as well, right? Um,
Exactly.
and that's something that you're also working on to build on with your product teams, for example, currently at Uberall.
Yes, yes. I'm super excited. We just hired our product growth manager at Uberall. We have lots of challenges as well, like similar to Hootsuite. We have to significantly improve and automate our onboarding. Uberall is more sales led, so there is still a lot of service and implementation and support that happens during the onboarding. So there is a lot about automating the onboarding, making sure that customers get to AHA, and make sure that they build a habit. So we see the big discrepancy that we see at the moment is from AHA to habit. They actually see the initial value, they get some support and implementation, but there is a drop from AHA to habit. So yeah, that's we are starting to work on those journeys.
That's awesome. You mentioned about the aha moment, right? Is there any discussions or any internal uh, efforts that have been taken at Uberall to ask customers what is that aha for you? Like we may have a specific idea that we think this is aha for them, but there is a possibility it could be something slightly different for them.
Yes.
Is that something that you've thought about? Is that something that you have on your horizon as well?
Yes, yes, we have asked customers, and the main thing is for Uberall, as we are a multi-location marketing platform, our customers, multi-location business, think about Starbucks, think about restaurants, hotel, retail, they have multiple locations. They want to use our platform to make sure that every single location, it can be hundreds, thousands of locations, have their address, hours of operations, all their location data information updated, accurate across multiple directors. Think about Google Maps, Apple Maps, Bing, TripAdvisor, and so on. So the aha moment is when they create an account with Uberall, add their location data information, and with a click of a button, it pushes to all those hundreds of directories, and they see live, wow, my location is now visible on Google with accurate data. Go, that's perfect, that's my goal, I score. And that's the basic onboarding thing that they should be doing. And that's when they see the sync, everything is synced between Uberall and let's say Google or Apple, that's a aha moment.
That's value immediately for them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's a great example. Cris, I also noticed, obviously, you are a Product Marketing Alliance ambassador as well. You also recently delivered a presentation. We'll obviously go into that in a bit more detail later today in our conversation. But what I was curious to know is, in your PMA summits, in the work that you've done with the PMA so far, what are the things that you are seeing that the PMA folks are talking about? What are the kind of conversations that are happening in those events? And overall, how has your experience been so far?
Yeah, really great experience with PMA. I joined their summit in Toronto last December, and at that moment, at that event, a key topic of discussion was transitioning from a sales-led to a product-led growth or product-led sales. So as a community, we talk a lot about that. I also found very interesting that the community talks a lot about how we feel before a launch, how PMMs are at the eye of the hurricane, so many stakeholders to deal with. So there is a bit of a therapy, a group therapy together, sharing the pains, the
resonating with each other.
Yes, resonating with each other, sharing the excitement, but also sharing some of the pains. And yes, I've gone through this, so there is a lot of support. And then more recently, as you mentioned, I deliver a masterclass that was exclusive to PMA members. And I found it was about pitching based on April Dunford framework, which is the topic that we are going to discuss today as well. And They had so many questions, the community that joined, they had so many questions at the end. And I felt, okay, this topic is really hot. So when you reach out, I was like, yes, we have this hot topic to talk about, just based on the reaction of the questions that I got from the PMA members.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously we spoke about that as well. We spoke about how your event went separately. You mentioned the attendees were so engaged and they were asking such interesting questions. It's
Yes.
great to see. It's that kind of goes to tell you that, so many people are actually looking for something like this. So many people,
Yes.
there is a need for someone to go through that as well. The other thing I liked what you touched upon is how everyone is sharing the kind of problems that they are facing and they're resonating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I like that specifically because a solo PMM is so common in so many companies. So many companies have just one person, like a solo PMM who's pretty much running the show.
Yes.
So they don't have a team to, talk about these things, figure out a solution together. You're pretty much
support each
building the
other
plane as you fly, right?
Yeah.
So it's great to even the PMA Slack community for that matter. I really like that because people are, if they have any particular questions, if they have any doubts or anything that's tripping them up, just reach out to them, ask questions. Other people have done the same, and they can obviously guide you. So I like that sense of community and that sense of helping another solo PMM out. So I think that's a very positive thing that obviously the PMA is creating.
Yeah, and we feel we belong to a tribe, right? Like as professionals, okay, we found our people, we found each other, and it feels a great sense of belonging. I'm a PMM. What does that mean? And I can reach for support, suggestions, guidance every time I was recently looking for a pricing consultant, for example. So I reach out, right? I reach out to my fellow PMMs and ask for help and who has worked with who. So it's great. It's great when you have that community.
Yeah, and if you also think about it, that's what I'm trying to do here as well in some shape or form, right? I'm trying to bring other product marketers who have done, led a project, who've done actually something, and they can bring a tangible example with them and walk the listener through.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm also trying to build something similar. If someone else has the same problem, they can look at this conversation and learn from it. So I love that. And that's actually a perfect segue to the second section, right? The second section of our chat, obviously, I'd like to call it the breakdown. And Cris, you and I discussed where I asked you to think about one particular example of any product marketing project or any particular task that you have recently done. And you can just walk the listeners through about how do you go about it, what was the process you followed. And obviously the example that you touched upon this before, but obviously I'd like you to just explain what it is and then just walk us through what that would be.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be my pleasure to share so it can help other PMMs, because when I was going through the challenge at Uberall of rethinking pitch decks, how can we really bring to the table a more creative way and unique way of showing who we are as a company and what are our unique capabilities. At the beginning, I was struggling a little bit to figure out how can I make this better. I saw many other pitch decks from competitors and non-competitors, and most tech companies, they just talk about themselves. We leave up to the buyer to figure out what is the difference. So at that moment, April Dunford was launching her books, obviously awesome, and sales pitch. And I said, okay, I think I'm going to get some inspiration from her. And I read her 2 books, one, and then she launched the next one. They were amazing, like super, super valued frameworks. And I was like, okay, I have done my homework. I have read those books. Now let's go into action.
I have everything I need.
I think I have everything I need. Let me do it. And then when it came time to execute, to put her framework into action, I was, like, as you said, like alone as a PMM. And then I wish at that point there was a podcast, a YouTube, or something else where I could see, has someone tried? Has someone given that a go? How does that look like? So I went through this process many versions, many back and forth, and I so much wish I could have seen how someone has done. So this is what I want to share with you guys today, is basically how I apply April Dunford's framework to create a new pitch for Uberall. Is that okay if I start sharing?
Absolutely. Yeah? Just for reference, this is the book that Cris is referring to. This is the second book. I'm still in the middle of it, by the way. And I haven't completed, but I'd love to see like a full example of that in action. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yes. So I'm going to share right here where I summarized before I started to do pitch deck. We need to do a positioning exercise. This is the first book, The Obviously Awesome, from April Dunford. And in a nutshell, like in one single slide, I think this summarizes for me what I capture as the most important lesson from her book is this 5-step process to get to positioning. So the first one is really looking at the competitive alternatives that your buyer will face when they are considering a software. The second, you would move to unique capabilities. What is unique about you? That can be features and as well service. What is unique that most competitors don't have? It doesn't need to be nobody, but most of the competitors that you face don't have that. The third one, it's in the middle, very important one, is what is the value that those unique capabilities unlock to your prospects? Mm-hmm. What does that mean for them? The number 4 is who are the customers who love that? Who cares about this?
Who cares most about it? Yeah.
Yeah, because if you have these unique capabilities and are so excited, but you're pitching to the wrong ICP, your ideal customer profile, if it's not
going to land well.
It's not going to land, yes. Then the last one is the market category. So this is her framework. And then I'm going to show you guys how I adapted internally. So basically here I started with a table. So I listed all the possible scenarios that a buyer would face. So starting from manage things manually. This can be literally on a piece of paper with people, on
Excel
spreadsheet, Google Sheets, any Google Doc, any document. They're basically managing manually. What are the pros and the cons? And then I went through some niche platforms that we have as well as competitors. Then I went through the fourth one, which is very super easy and modern to use, but it doesn't have the depth and the breadth, the richness of the tools, of the features. Mm-hmm. And then on the other range of on the other side of the range, we have the fully blown platform, which has very much depth and breadth of tools. And then I listed the pros and the cons of each, just to put the lay of the lands. I did a lot of competitive intel research to get to that. So that's a very high level summary. On number 1, the competitive alternatives, I decided to do this matrix and list them, all of my competitors on the table on a scale of easy to use versus breadth and depth. And when I put the competitors, it became very clear where Uberall sits. So we are not the most rich in terms of breadth and depth of tools, but we are very easy to use. We are robust enough and easy to use. And for our ICP, if you have all the bells and whistles, it can actually distract and confuse users, as we were talking before about the onboarding, right? When it's too confusing. For our ICP, this is ideal, and this is what we have to bring to life when we are pitching, right? Who we are, why us. So that was helpful.
So in this case, they would rather be in the top right quadrant than the bottom right.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So this A is super modern, super easy to use, but it's a bit shallow. It doesn't have the things that are enough. So it became very clear who we were and our position in relation to the competitors that we see the most.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to visualize, okay, if I have to put on customer voice, how would they say? If they're using a manual solution, what is the problem? It's too much effort. It doesn't help me to improve. All right. How about the easy to use but limited? Yes, it's user friendly, but it's limited. I cannot scale. So I went one by one, and the fully blown one is like, it's feature rich, but it's too complex. I need a whole onboarding and education to get it done. So
value is longer as well. Right?
Value is much longer.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, time to value. So at this moment, I combine pain points that I heard from research, from customers that switch over to Uberall, and how was that process. So I layered that research here as well. And then it comes into that step 2 and 3 from April, which is unique capability and the value. And also the other one, which is who cares about it. So we have 3 layers here: the unique capabilities, the first row, the second row is the value, and the third row is who cares about it. So on this, at this, you're going to share why you were robust on something, why you're easy to do something else, whatever it is that you are unique. I had to hide some information for confidentiality purpose here. But for us, our uniqueness was mostly around 2 capabilities, and one was related to support and guidance and service. Then the second row is the value to customers. So for each capability, you think about, what does it mean for them? Okay.
How does this help them?
How does this help them? Oh, it helps with my SEO strategy. It's faster time to value, as you mentioned, Chirag. Or it gives me efficiency gains, faster onboarding, peace of mind. Whatever the value is, you lay that by capability. Mm-hmm. And the third row is who cares? And I also put a note here, like a flag. When and who wouldn't be ideal for these capabilities? Because sometimes one capability is not ideal if you're going head to head with a competitor, but the other 2 capabilities are okay. So you highlight the capability 2 and 3, and you play down the capability number 1. So you play around which ones you highlight or which ones you downplay according to the competitor. And who
Cris, about that, what you just said, right? I think in April Dunford's first book, she mentions about points of parity versus points of differentiation. This is where that comes into as well. Like, as you said, the first feature versus the second and the third feature. If the second and the third ones are your point of differentiation,
yes,
focus on that first. And then obviously from a parity perspective, you can kind of follow that up with the third one.
Exactly. It's all about who you are competing head to head. And then the who cares about it. It can be you go into specific industries, pain points. What are they most struggling with, right? The capability 1 and 2 are really different for us. It depends on what is your main pain point. So anyway, once you have that, it basically you nail your position. Once you have this matrix, these pain points, and you lay this, you basically know what are my unique capabilities, why Uberall, who would care about it, and what is the value that they would benefit from. So when I got at this point, and I did a lot of internal workshops, I got the sales team, the solutions team, a few product managers with me to come up with this exercise. Customer success as well, yes, customer success and sales. So I select 1-2 people from each side of the organization, different geographies, make sure EMEA and North America are represented in the workshops, couple with the research about competitors and customers, and then you build this map.
Yeah. Chris, if I can go back to the previous slide for a second, I would just love to make one observation. So when it comes to the second row, value to customers, right? Obviously, you mentioned that you have involved all these different stakeholders from different teams. Another great way to get this validated in an always on approach is when someone, let's say, fills out your talk to sales form on your website. This could actually be a very interesting form field as well in that form. Like, what are the things that you mostly care about? Like more accurate and consistent data, checkbox. Positive digital experience, checkbox. So basically, and once you do that, let's say for 3 months, 6 months, and so on, you would start seeing a particular trend, a pattern or a trend. And then that, I mean, obviously what you have here is based on that particular research, which is great. But if you have that lens of people who are actually reaching out, it would be great to revisit this 3 months, 6 months, 12 months later and see if any of these are updated, if any of them have added or some trends that you can use to inform this further.
Yes, such a great suggestion. We count a lot with the sales team, pre-sales, the solutions team.
Yes.
But why not asking customers when they are completing the demo form or,
Okay. That's awesome.
What's your main pain point or what you care the most, right? And then, great point. So at that moment, I said, okay, I nailed the positioning. I think I get it. Everything is clear. Let's move to the pitch deck now. And as April mentioned, the pitch deck is the story of the positioning. So how we're going to tell that story on a pitch deck that our sales team feels proud to share and show prospects. So again, in a nutshell, I have one slide that summarizes her second book, April's second book, Sales Pitch. So we have 7 steps here. It goes from a unique point of view. It's a unique perspective that you have in the marketing, the problem that your customers is facing. What are the alternatives in the market? She suggests like a table. You don't need to mention the name, but again, a range of competitors. The perfect world would be what would be ideal for those prospects. Number 4 is the introduction of your platform, the architecture, the messaging, coupled with the number 5, which is the main point here of this whole story, is the differentiated and unique values, which is your clear positioning. And then you move into proof of value, customer stories, ROI. Right? So someone needs to validate your story. You have to prove. And then she suggests as a number 7 to finish objections, like some things that the prospects are anxious about, and you just want to make sure that you relieve their anxiety, that you ease their anxiety, can be related to data privacy, security,
compliance,
switchover, compliance, implementation, switchover, right? So you mentioned that. So I think that's exactly her framework, and she believes that by doing so, you are not leaving the buyer alone to figure out what is the difference between these 4 or 5 vendors that I'm talking about. This pitch deck is very clear. I know, for example, why Uberall, what they bring to the table, what they are unique. And she mentioned that the unique point of view, it's how you frame the story in a way that leads to your values. So it's a very strategic narrative, storytelling that frames from the inside, it frames the mind of the buyer, of the prospect, to be landing well into that unique value that you bring to the table. Now, when I try to adapt that to Uberall, that's the moment that I start to, it doesn't fit perfectly. I have to do some adjustments to our ICP, to our culture, to the customers that we talk to. First of all, this unique point of view and insight that April mentioned is very specific. Again, it's a unique perspective that you have on a problem. In our case, our ICP for example, SEO managers, digital marketing managers, they take the pitch deck and they sell themselves, they walk a CMO through it on our behalf. They are our champions.
They are the champions, yeah.
So we need to make sure that the pitch deck was also something that wouldn't be just used by the pre-sales along with a demo and the sales team, but also something that our champion would be able to tell the story. So we felt that if the champion is taking that to someone else like a CMO, we need to start with the problem statement and some context of what is the problem in the industry before we come to our unique point of view. So a big differentiator here that we had to adapt. I'm calling this as a step 0. Again, a common knowledge that anybody can Google and find. This is not something unique about us, but we need to put this as the lay of the land to start with. And then we move to the alternatives in the market as our number 1. Unlike April, who has that as a number 2. Then we move into the unique point of view as the third step for us. We skipped the perfect world. We went all the way to the introduction. That's where we present our architecture, who we are, our key messaging. And then we went into the core of the presentation, which is our unique value. So we have one slide for each unique value. And then we went to the fun part of the deck. It's always very popular, is where we show the ROI, logos, customer testimonials, the impact.
Statistics and so on.
Yes. And then instead of having objections, we decided to put a few things that our sales team can use as they need. For example, product roadmap. It's something that our prospects are constantly asking. Can you share with us what's coming? And also for some people in some markets, they don't know Uberall, what Uberall does. So we have an Uberall at a glance slide that the sales team can put at the beginning, at the end. It's there for them. So based on that framework, I adapt a little bit from April. I build the deck. So I'm excited. Are you ready, Chirag? Can I share? Yeah.
Yeah. Cris, before that, I'd love to get into 2 main things over here. I understand everything that you've done. You've adopted April's approach and you obviously made a few tweaks to it. First one is the step 0, where you're talking about the problem statement or the context. That we'll see an example of it when you start presenting, but this would be what the current state of the industry is like, right? So that basically, the way I look at it is acts like an anchor in your overall storytelling. Like you anchor the story based on this. Once you establish that as a problem, and then obviously you build on top of that. That's a fair way to look at it, right? So use something as a base of your overall story.
Yes, it's literally opening up with a common problem that people in the industry are facing. I decided to take one advice from April here on this problem statement, even though she doesn't have this step, but she said, don't bring too many data stats, data points.
1 or 2 at the most.
Just one, yes. So I said, okay, I want to add a problem statement, a public data point, something that it's not a unique perspective, but it's a bit of a shocking number still to see. And it brings the problem in one data point. So that's what we did.
Right. I love it. Yeah, that's a great way to start. I feel the same way as well, and I'm excited to see what the deck looks like.
Hey, let's see. Right. So here is where I show you guys. Obviously, again, I remove some data points, some words that are confidential, but most of it is right here for you guys to see. So this is our intro slide, our cover of the pitch deck, turn local search into conversions. This was in June of 2024, so a few months now, but just very recent. So this is our stat. This is how we start our problem, our step 0. We say nearly 80% of mobile local search turn into purchase. This is a public number we got in a public source. 80% of purchase starts on a search from the mobile phone.
I love that.
However, yet millions of businesses are missing out on capturing and converting these searches with high intent. So this is the problem. So we have a data point that it's big and very exciting. Wow, we can capture on this purchase if I am a shop because people are searching near me, nearby. But yet we bring the problem to the table. Millions of businesses are missing out. And then it comes into why. Like why they're missing out. What is it that they're doing wrong? And this is a perfect segue to their pain points. So this is how we tweak and we position the alternatives in the market. We are assuming that our prospects are doing things manually or they are with a competitor. Right. But if they're talking to us, it's because they have a pain point. So we decided to present the alternatives in the market in a gentle way instead of directly talking about competitors, even without mentioning the names, but instead of going through that competitors right away.
Yeah.
We decided to bring to the table the lack of things they were experiencing, their pain points, their challenges. So for example, inconsistent and inaccurate listing profiles. And then we kindly put here gently just like some sentiments that they feel. My location's having incorrect information, or I face poor platform experience. And we put some pain points underneath. I have limited handling of reviews and social with the platforms that I use today. Or I have lack of SEO expertise and support. These are the critical pain points that we see when customers are switching from competitors to us. So in a way, we're mapping the competitors, mapping the pain points. And at this moment, if you're pitching, the prospect should be nodding to you and acknowledging, yes, right, I face all of them or a couple of them, or this is exactly my main problem. And that's when you know you're framing the pitch deck in the right direction.
Yes. In this. Yeah. I love the fact that it's written in first person as well.
Yes, their voice.
Their voice, it's a small little thing, but it goes a fair distance to making it more relatable and more personal. Mm-hmm. So I like that approach.
Yes, that's a nice touch. I like that you noticed that. And then we go into the unique point of view. This slide can be completely, like the sales team can completely skip and just talk about it. Mm-hmm. But again, because our champion presents this internally to their, for example, their CMO, we target marketers. We decided to have a slide about it. But April mentioned a few times on her book, you may just, the sales team can just talk about it. You don't necessarily need a slide. But this is where you say what you believe, right? Like what is unique perspective? And we say, we believe that achieving X, if you want to achieve X, you need Y. If you don't have that, you are wasting your time. You're missing out on opportunities, and you continue to miss on the local search, on the high intent searches that are out there. So it's kind of the story from the beginning. And then we go into the introduction, meet Uberall. So based on our positioning, as I mentioned before, we consider ourselves the most efficient and comprehensive location marketing platform that does what? That help multi-location business do what? Deliver top visibility and high conversions across Google, Apple, and multiple other directories. That's what we do. That's why it's unique about us in a nutshell. And we made the decision to bring some of the proof, some of the data points to this slide here. So we have some data points, some stats. This is our own data. This is the average, the median from our own customers. And that's the increment that they have achieved. These are the KPIs that they measure ourselves, and they want to do business with us. They expect more views, more clicks, more efficiency gains. We decided to bring that to the table early on. And then we present the architecture, who we are. If we have one image to show all the tools that we have and how they relate to each other. So we have location data as a foundation. We use this shape of the pin based on location in the map.
I like the location thing. Yeah.
Yes, with a map underneath so
Right.
people can relate. Location data is our foundation. We have our core products, listings, reviews, and social. And then we have the other adjacent products here in the other layer. And then the final layer with dotted line is the things that we have across the platform. API, analytics is our core across all products, and AI as well is across all our products.
It's an underlying capability across your overall platform.
Exactly. And it looks very simple and easy, but it took us quite a while. Many versions until we landed on that and everybody was happy. It's a whole process.
It's very creative as well. Like you could have pretty much just done circles like this. You could have easily done like, layers of an onion, like how they say have like, you could have done that, but then this is so much, it's so much clearer. It's a good, it goes back to what a brand actually does at its base, which is location management, right? And then obviously there's a pin to show that. So I really like it's very clever.
Yeah, because it leverages our brand, our logos, like who we are. We use the pin a lot.
Yeah. I'd love to.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Cris, go on.
No. And just to finish, besides the architecture, a very brief, like few words, the fewer the better.
Yes.
Quick description of each product. That's it. Sorry, now you go.
No, I had a question on that itself. Have there been any discussions? And obviously you mentioned you have like a product roadmap going into 2025 and obviously beyond. There would be more tools coming to the platform, right? This is not it. There will be more coming down the future. How do you envision adding those? Because there will come a point in time where you kind of go broader. What's in your head in terms of how would you address adding all of that in one?
Adding more products,
slide?
Yes. We have adding features to existing products, which we wouldn't necessarily update here, but we also have adding more products, to your point.
Right. So going broader,
on the way that we designed this, we envision, we talk to our design team, let's develop a shape that we can expand. The layers of the pin can become bigger and wider. It can grow taller or wider, but we are already considering the addition of new products. Yes.
I see. Interesting.
Sorry about my dog barking. I don't know if you could hear.
I could hear a little. Maybe he also wants to participate in this conversation.
Yes, he wants to be part of that.
No worries.
All right. So the next one is, again, we are now at the core of the pitch deck. This is where we present very clearly the 4 unique capabilities that we have. So we listed 1, 2, 3, 4. Location data, whatever we want to say, easy to do, speed off, stellar support end. So we introduce the 4, and then we have one single slide of each of them. We put a lot of thought into these slides as well. The slides should have on the left side, highlight what is it that is unique, the key features, the key capabilities that unlock the value, and then an image or a G2 badge or a customer testimonial.
Some social proof.
Some social proof, and on this one, become a local favorite without the hassle. We have images of the product showing exactly the features that we are mentioning here. So backing up the thinking. But this is the core of the pitch deck. It's what is unique about Uberall and proving. And then we come into the 5th step, which is proof of value. And this became the most popular slide. It's when we show with our own data, the average of our customers, what they got 3 months after joining Uberall, after kicking off with Uberall, what they got as an increment, as a lift, and then what happens 12 months later. And you can see
And
the
it's
journey.
exponential. It's a higher.
Yes.
It's not a linear growth. It's more exponential, and I love that.
Yes, exactly. So we use this graph just in a visual way to show, okay, yes, what you got, Chirag, it's an exponential growth. And it became very popular, the conversation here. Where do you get the data? That's very interesting. I'm not there yet. I need help. How you guys can guarantee those numbers? So it creates very rich conversations with the prospect. So that's why I say it's a very popular slide.
No, absolutely. I can totally imagine. If I was a prospect, if I looked at this is where I would like to be spending time on for sure. So I like that.
We are highlighting the exponential growth and also the quickest time to value, that
Yes.
even in 3 months, you can get
Yes.
some lift.
It puts a timeline and picture for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we move into the other proof of value slide, which has great logos across the globe. We're always lucky to have these brands, and we don't show just the logo, but we also show the main ROI that these customers share with us. So this is all public information. We have blog articles, we have case studies with those brands across EMEA, across North America, and they share with us their ROI, their increase in views and clicks and so on. So for anyone who has that, this is great. Bring it to your pitch deck because it speaks by itself, right? It's a total proof.
Yeah. Is there any customization happening here, Cris, depending on the industry of prospect you're speaking to?
Great question. This is very generic, and we got some brands from representing EMEA, North America. Now, once our sales teams pitch, let's say in North America, to QSR, quick service restaurants, we try to have logos mostly for North America, mostly on that industry. We try to personalize as much as we can. So this is a highly personalized slide.
Makes sense.
And that is it. I mentioned to you guys that there is an appendix that shows the roadmap and Uberall at a glance. I don't have here to share with you guys because it's very confidential, our roadmap. But we continue in the appendix. And we finish with this tagline that also it's connected to the beginning, turn local searching to conversions. And now we have here as well, are you ready to take your visibility to the next level and skyrocket your conversion? So simple pitch deck, like 10, 12, 13 slides, to the point. It took us a long time. It looks very simple, but it took us a long time to get there. Instead of having that bulky deck with many slides, many words. So yeah, that was a simple approach.
Yeah, I think 10, 12, 15 slides, as you said, is like the most optimum length of a pitch deck.
Yes.
And if you follow that particular process, you would see that obviously it has a cohesive story all across. And I love that. I think this is such a good example for people who are struggling with not only creating this, but even looking at what they currently have, right? Just look at what you currently have, see these particular areas, if you have them, if you don't have them, think about how you can add stuff that's missing.
Yes.
And then obviously you can test it out. You can do an A/B test over a period of time. Ask one sales rep to run the current sales deck, another sales rep to take the new one. Just see which one works out over a period of 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. So I love this example and I love the walkthrough as well. So thanks a lot for that, Cris.
It was my pleasure.
Of course. This is what you presented at the PMA talk as well.
Yes.
And you got some.
I got some very good questions, and they asked me about the industry, like if we tailor the deck to industry, as you asked. They asked me about the appendix as well, like how much of the roadmap we share. And it's high level. It's a very light roadmap. It's a summary. They asked me about information from competitors, like how we got, what type of research. They asked the time that I took. Yes, like they had so many great questions, and I saw like how this is. Then I realized, wow, this is really a hot topic. finding the unique capabilities, like the workshops, they ask about that as well. Yeah, lots of great questions.
Absolutely. How is this landing compared to what you had previously? Or is it still too early to say?
No, so initially they were just sharing with me the slides that were the most popular ones. So the proof of value, the architecture, the image, right?
The big pin. Yeah.
The big, and the other one that says meet Uberall with some data points at the beginning. That was a very, clever, they said, instead of waiting until the end, because you hook the prospect right at the beginning and then you show the other details. And then recently I got the data about 2 weeks ago that we improved the win rate from 20 to 30%. Nice. I don't want to say that it's just the pitch deck. We have done some improvements on our website as well to qualify, to make sure that we are capturing the right ICP, but some improvements there coupled with the pitch deck, and I think that we are seeing this return.
That's awesome. That's great to see that kind of win rate. And obviously, as you said, this is not the only reason, but it's a big factor, right? It's a big contributing factor. So it's great to hear that those numbers come through. This was great, Cris. Thanks so much for walking us through.
No problem. And one question I just remember now was how often the pitch deck should be updated. I think that was a very relevant question. And then what I answer is every time there is a big shift in the market, that your competitors do something new, that all of a sudden those unique capabilities are not unique anymore, or that you change your product roadmap and you want to highlight you have new unique capabilities, right? Every time that there is this new thing happening inside, you need to go back, do the same exercise and review your messaging. So it can happen, there is no certain number to answer. You can be 2 times a year, it can be every quarter. It really depends on yourself and the market. You have to be in tune. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that makes sense. It's on a case-to-case basis, as you said.
Right.
Right? Depending on something happens, you go back to it, see if it needs to be updated.
Right.
If yes, fine. If not, just keep it as is. So
just keep as it is, yes.
That's awesome. Cris, I'd like to jump onto section 3, which I would like to call Tool Talk. In this section, I'd like to ask you, what is that one particular tool or software that you use constantly and the one that you see the most value in for you?
We use many tools, but there is one particular tool that I used by the first time here at Uberall. And then I'm really enjoying, and it became a great resource as a PMM, and it's called Storylane. So you build demos. It's like a interactive demo, self-serve demos, step by step. I started to leverage Storylane when I'm doing sales enablement. I embed on the release notes. We do for our resellers, we do for our direct customers. Yeah, it became such a great tool on our website. So we're leveraging a lot.
That's awesome. What specific feature or any function of Storylane do you personally prefer, you think is the most valuable for you?
There are a couple. It's highly personalized, super easy to use. You can add other information like a video, a document, you can add to the demo. They have an AI feature that it translates automatically to multiple languages, which is essential for Uberall as we deal.
That's cool.
Yes. And we deal with so many languages, and I don't have to create multiple versions of the same demo, right? Like with a click of a button with their AI tool, we have multi-language. So it's been really helpful.
Oh, so that would mean every step of the interactive demo, step 1, you would have a specific text written in English, and then you can just use AI to convert that to whatever, German, French.
Right.
That's cool.
Right. Exactly. So I don't have to do a full translation, create a new demo, right? Like it automatically creates. For us, we do French and Germany as well. French and German. So it really helps. Yeah.
That's so cool. I've also realized that interactive demos compared to like a product video walkthrough is so much more effective and so much more easier in so
Hmm.
many different,
Yes,
different areas. Number one is obviously creating it. You don't, the time to create an interactive demo is much shorter than an actual video, number one.
yes,
Number two, time to update it as well. Let's say if
yes,
your product looks a bit different, you have updated the entire design language or you've updated the UI in some shape or form, you don't have to go and create a whole new video.
right.
Interactive demos, that was are much quicker to actually create.
Yes.
And the analytics as well, right? You can actually see at what step are people
Who,
dropping off, right?
yes, who is
Who is what?
viewing? Yes.
Yeah, things like that. And that's, you don't get that in a video. Like you
No,
may at the most get like an average watch time, but then that
yes.
doesn't convey the whole story.
And for a user perspective, if I when I'm watching a video, I have to pause and take my time, right, to see exactly what I want. In the interactive demo, I don't advance, I don't progress to the next step. I stare, I take my time in any step that I want to pause and really observe a couple things. So I really like that I take my time to go through it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's self-paced,
It's
self-served,
self-paced. Yes, you
right?
nail. It's self-paced. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that as well. And you've integrated this in different parts of your business,
Yes.
sales enablement, marketing. Which one are you seeing the one use the most or get the most value from when it comes to which particular team?
We are using so many ways. We are using in webinar with customers, so we are doing live demos and showing them. We have on our website, and it's amazing for our enablement. So I would highlight these three areas. It gives our sales team a lot of confidence to pitch something that they actually have seen, how it is in the product, instead of just seeing an image or a video. They go
Right.
through it themselves.
Right.
Even if they have pre-sales solution consultants doing a demo for the prospects, they feel very comfortable talking about the features, how is the experience. So it's been amazing from a sales enablement point of view.
That's so cool. I haven't used it myself, but this is something that I've obviously heard so much about, and I'm excited to try out more interactive demos. So that's a great example that you brought with me. Cris, I'd like to move on to the second last section rather, which I call behind the scenes. I'd love to hear from you. Would you be able to shed light on any particular projects that you're currently leading? Like what's top of mind for you right now?
Top of mind for me, the new focus of my time is pricing and packaging, is the new beast that I am
It is.
tackling. So maybe in a few months, I will be able to have another talk with you
Yeah.
about tackling that
Yeah.
beast. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any challenges, any roadblocks you're currently facing when it comes to pricing and packaging? How are you thinking of addressing those?
Yeah, I think that we realize, again, we've researched and a lot with our customer success team, that the current packages that we have are not according to customer needs, not according to their maturity stage. Our customers feel forced into a package. There are not enough customization and options for them. And customers are raising that concern at the moment of renewal, so it's affecting retention. And that sparked the need to review pricing and packaging. And we said, okay, we have a clear problem. So that's our phase one. And then we're going to move into phases. We have an 18-month plan and roadmap for pricing and packaging. But that's where we are right now.
Understood. It would be great to have a customer advisory board in a time like this. If you, as you mentioned, if they're bringing it up at a time of renewal, this is a great opportunity to involve them in the process,
That's the
involve them.
perspective. Yes.
Yeah. Something like that
Yes.
would be incredible, and obviously they will be so involved in actually
Giving feedback.
shaping the future, give feedback, and so on. That's great. Cris, final thoughts from you. Couple of questions. One is, what would you say excites you the most about product marketing overall, and what the future holds for our function?
I think what excites me is how cross-functional the role is, how it's really, like if you think about a Venn diagram, I think PMMs are really in that middle. We collaborate across product, customer success, and sales, and the rest of the marketing team. So I love to be in that middle. I love the strategic and executional part of the role. It's both. You need to be quite strategic. At the same time, you need to be able to execute and be very organized and be able to make it happen. You can't just be great with ideas and the planning. You need to have a strong executional arm. And the fact that we can do both in PMM and both are critical, I love it.
I would love to add the fact that, and this goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about, the number of solo PMMs that are out there, right? So for a solo PM, as you mentioned, the middle of the Venn diagram and impacting so many areas of the business.
Yes.
Imagine if one person is doing all of that, it just goes to show how valuable and how strategic the role actually is.
Yes.
Because we impact so many areas of the business, and
yes,
that's actually what got me into product marketing in the first place, like the opportunity to impact so many different things. Right?
Yes,
so,
yes.
And that's highly exciting.
And I'm not sure if the role is completely clear across all companies and organizations in terms of the value of PMM.
Yes.
I think product managers went through that when PMs didn't have their role very clear. Now everybody understands what a product manager does. And I think there is still confusion. And sometimes, as you mentioned, solo PMMs, sometimes it's not ideal, the ratio of PMMs to PMs, because there is not a consistent understanding of the role, the value that they bring to the table.
100%.
Yeah, so it's our reality at the moment.
Cris, how can people reach out to you if they would like to connect with you or to learn?
Yeah, the best way is on LinkedIn. People can find me. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. Is the social platform that I actually like the most. It's where I connect with people, I learn from, I like to share. I get recommendations, I reach out to people, candidates. Like I find it so useful.
It is.
Yeah,
You and I talk all the time on LinkedIn.
All the time on LinkedIn. Yes, I respond faster than on an email to you. Yeah, that's how connected I feel with LinkedIn. Yeah, I find it a great tool. So if anybody, feel free to follow along and stay in touch with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. When I release this episode, I'm gonna drop in your LinkedIn profile as well as part of the notes, so people can just click there and access it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Cris, this was great. Such a nice conversation, such a nice example of how you leveraged April Dunford's framework. And I myself have learned so much. I know other people who are listening to you walk us through that are going to learn so much as well. Great conversation. We are meeting in person as well a few weeks later.
Yes, so looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be fun as well. Again, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I love the idea of this podcast, that unlike others, that there is the sharing piece, the sharing component, that it can be very tangible for people to look. So I love to be one of your guest speakers. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much, Cris.
Thank you.
Thanks again. And
see you soon in a couple of weeks. Yes.
Sounds good. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye.